Welcome back. This is my second video on how to configure Windows, and on this video we're going to be talking about local security policies and local security settings. I'm going to take you through a quick rundown of the local security policy, and we're going to start by going to the Start menu, Control Panel, Administrative Tools. We're going to click on Local Security Policy and bring that up. I'm just going to resize this real quickly here. There we go. Alright, so local security policies are policies that affect globally across the entire computer. These are policies that are going to limit or reduce people's access to the computer or give people access to the computer. And the best way to start setting these up is to start with account policies. If you go to account lockout policies, you can set an amount of logins, invalid login attempts before locking your computer out, and the duration you want the account to be locked out for. In my particular setting, I just want 5 invalid logon attempts. This will help to prevent people from brute forcing your passwords. They can only try 5 times before they're locked out for 30 minutes. It limits the amount of time that people can guess at logging in on your password. So that's what I've done here. You don't have to actually set this. You can leave this as the default, which is 0 invalid login attempts and 0 lockout. But for additional security purposes, this is not a bad way to go. If you go down to local security policies and you click on user rights assignment, you can extend this security setting here and access this computer from the network is the first one on the list that we want to look at. Now if you open this up, you'll see that there's a list of all the types of user accounts that can attempt to access the computer from your local network. Now, for my purposes, there are no other computers on the local network, and so this is really just a door for anybody to try and access my computer. Hackers could attempt to penetrate the router security, and if they were to gain local network access, they could begin to use administrative accounts, backup operators, everyone accounts, or users to try to guess my password and get into my computer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those and I'm going to click the remove button and apply that. Click yes, and there. Now no account is authorized to access my computer from the local network. It makes it far more challenging for any attacker to try and penetrate the security of the computer. To go down the list here, we have adjust memory processes, quotas for processes, and that's fine the way that it is. Allow log on locally. Well, log on locally, that's the user account that's going to log on this computer at the keyboard and mouse, so to speak. And I don't need guests. I don't need anybody that has no guest password. I only want the administrators and the users. The backup operators are for Windows Restore settings, so we want to leave that one too, just in case. So we're going to apply that, and we're going to click OK. We're going to go to allow log on through remote desktop services and bring that up. Now in my particular instance, I don't want anybody using remote desktop services to access my computer. So I'm going to highlight both of those and remove and apply, and hit OK. Next one we're going to go to here is bypass traverse checking. And simply traverse checking allows people to traverse any of the paths on their hard drive. So I don't want everyone to be able to traverse the directories on the hard drive. I just want the administrative and user accounts to be able to traverse the directories on the hard drive. So I'm going to remove the everyone account from there. And under the explanation, it shows you a little bit more about that. It says a privilege does not allow users list contents of a directory, only to traverse the directories. So we're just going to go through, we're just going to allow that. There we go. Change that one. And then we're going to go down a little bit further here to deny access to this computer from the network. And I don't want anybody to access my computer from the network, so I'm just going to go through here and I'm going to click the everyone account. And I'm going to click OK and click apply. There we go. So now there's no access to this computer from the network from any account. I'm going to deny logon as a batch job. And again, this just helps you to limit what can connect to your computer. And I'm going to choose the anonymous logon because I know no anonymous logon should ever be allowed. Guest accounts, home group user accounts, and terminal server accounts. And there we go. And that's just to help secure us a little bit more. There we go. So the next one we're going to do deny logon as a service, and I'm going to click the advanced here. And I'm going to choose anonymous logon. and guest accounts, and home group users, and terminal server users. There we go, and we're just going to apply that setting. We're going to do the same thing for locally logged on users, deny local logon. So we're going to deny the anonymous logon, the, no, don't want everyone, just guest and home group accounts and terminal server users. If I had accidentally put in the everyone account in there, then nobody would be able to log on locally, not my user account or my administrative account. So that's one that you want to avoid, is putting the everyone in there. You only want the everyone account in the deny access this computer from the network, and also for remote desktop services. That way people cannot remotely access the computer. And there we go, everyone account. There we go, and we're going to go down a little bit further to, let's just see here, what else do we have on here? I think that's just about got it all. Remove the computer from docking station. Now normally there'd be an account in here too, but I've already gone ahead and removed that one too because I don't have a docking station for my computer. And that's all for the user rights assignments. Next we're going to go to the security options. And under security options we have default accounts here that are disabled. When we set up our Windows account, we were prompted for an administrative account, and we've already enabled that. But this is another administrative account. It's called the default administrative account, and you can just leave those disabled. If you wanted to rename them, this option gives you the ability to rename them, and that's a slight security increase so that people can't guess the administrative or guest accounts if they're enabled. Going down the list a little bit further though, we're going to go down to allow undock without having to log on. And again, this is just for a docking station. It doesn't really have to be set up unless you have a docking station. I'm just going to go ahead and click on that one. Go down to allow format and reject removable media. Now this security option just allows you to set which user accounts you want to be able to format any hard drive or any connected device like an SD card or a USB card, and which accounts can eject them. And I'm just going to set that up for administrator. I'm going to prevent users from installing printer drivers. I'm going to enable this because I don't plan to install a printer driver. Going on to CD-ROM access, this just restricts your CD-ROM from being accessed by anybody other than an account that's locally logged onto your computer. And the same with floppy drive. I don't even have a floppy drive to access, but I'm going to enable this just for fun. The next three settings are all for domain controllers, and as we don't have a primary domain controller and we're not going to be using this computer as a domain controller, I'm not going to define them. And again, same for the domain members. Going on down the list a little bit further to interactive logon, display user information when the session is locked. This gives you the ability to display any information about the username, the domain that you're currently connected to, or your username. And I'm just not going to display this information because I'm not going to be connecting to a domain. Going on down the list here a little bit more, do not display last username. This is just a method of displaying the last user that logged on to your computer. Under the explanation, it tells you that if the policy is disabled, that the last user login it will be displayed, and I don't necessarily want the last user to be logged in to be displayed here. Going on to do not require Control-Alt-Delete. This is just a method of making sure that the person that's logging onto your account is physically located in front of the computer itself. And if you disable this, what will happen is when I go to log on next time, I'm going to have to push the Control-Alt-Delete key in order to be able to type in my username and password to log on to Windows. I'm going to go ahead and set that up. A little bit of a security increase there. Number of previous logins to cache. This is simply in the event that you cannot connect to your primary domain controller. It caches logon so that you can still log in even if the domain controller is offline. And as I don't have one, I'm going to set that to 0 because I don't want to cache my logons. And going down a little bit further here, we've got the Microsoft Network clients. Again, these are for setting up security for SMB protocol only if you have a domain controller, so we're not really gonna touch on any of those. And again, same with Microsoft Network Server. Going down to the SAM accounts here, The SAM file actually holds resident information about your username and passwords that you're using, and if somebody were to access the SAM file, they'd be able to get a hold of your username and password. And even though that's highly unlikely because it's very well protected, but there are programs out there such as HiRuns BootCD that allow you to access the SAM file and modify the SAM file when you're not logged into Windows. So I'm going to go ahead and enable that. That'll prevent people from being able to, say if my computer was stolen, they could use HiRuns BootCD to change that information and actually access the account information. I'm going to go to do not allow storage of passwords and credentials for network authentication. And as I don't have any reason to access the computer from the network, I don't want any passwords or username credentials stored for accessing my computer. So I'm going to enable that. If you go down a little bit further, you can see remotely accessible registry paths. Now these are registry paths that can be accessed from your local network. As there's no reason for me to have any of these accessed from the local network, and I don't want anybody remotely accessing any registry paths on my computer, I can remove those and apply the setting. Again, there's another path here that has to do with printers. So you might not want to remove that if you're going to use a printer, but there's lots of other ones here, like for example terminal servers. These are for remotely controlling your computer that you would not necessarily want to have just anybody accessing. So if you actually decide that you want to really clamp down the security on the computer, you can remove these. For example, OLAP server. If you're not planning on running a server on your computer, you can remove that. Print in Windows. If you don't want people to remotely control printing or Windows on your computer, you can remove these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select them all and delete them all and apply. And that will prevent anybody from having remote accessible registry paths to my Windows registry. Now, if I move down here a little bit further, we have shares that can be accessed anonymously. Well, I don't plan on creating shares because I don't have any computers on my network. So, other than this one, and I can control all the files that are on the hard drive of this computer locally. So I'm just going to make sure that this is goes from a not-defined state to a clear configuration state where there are no shares that can be accessed anonymously. I should note here that not defined usually has the same effect as disabled, but if you check some of the settings, that can be different depending on which setting. Okay, so scrolling on down the list here, we're going to go to allow a local system to use NTLM security, and we're going to enable that setting. Allow local system null session fallback, and again under the explanation it tells you that if this was Windows Vista you'd want this to be enabled, but under Windows 7 it's false. You don't want your session to fall back to a null. PKU2U authentication request to and from this computer. For computer online identities, I don't want to use computer online identities, so I've clicked disabled here. Configuring encryption types for Kerberos. This allows you to set up the encryption types that you want to use for Kerberos for IP security, and I've set this for AES 128 and AES 256-bit encryption, and apply that setting. Going on to the next one, we've got LAN LAN manager authentication level. And LAN manager authentication level, as it explains in here, is a method of protocol authentication for challenging responses that are sent to your computer. And we want the highest available for our network security because we're not using our computer on a home network. There are no other computers to connect to, so we're just going to set that to NTLM version 2 response only and refuse LM and NTLM connections. Click yes. LDAP client signing requirements. This is a method of securing bind requests through the use of SSL and TLS encryption, and we want that to be set to required signing so that all LDAP requests have to be encrypted. There we go. And moving on to minimum session security for NTLM, we're going to set that up to NTLM version 2 session security. so that way it corresponds with the previous LAN manager authentication level. And we're going to do that for both of these. Moving on, add remote server exceptions. This is just a method of providing a server exception for any remote servers that might use NTLM authentication to bypass our security. And again, here's another one for server exceptions in a domain. Going on down to restricting NTLM, auditing NTLM traffic. Again, we want to enable the auditing for all accounts so that we have a log. Auditing NTLM authentication requests in this domain, we want to set to enable all so that we're auditing all NTLM requests. Then we're going to go down to incoming NTLM traffic, and we're going to set it to deny all accounts for NTLM traffic. That way all the NTLM is denied and only the NTLM version 2 will be used. NTLM authentication in this domain, we don't have a domain that we're going to use NTLM authentication in because we're not part of one, but we're going to set that to deny all anyways, so that way if somebody were to try and penetrate our network security and use NTLM authentication, they wouldn't be able to gain access. Going on to outgoing NTLM traffic to remote servers, we don't want NTLM traffic to go to any remote servers because we don't have any that we'll be connecting to, so we're going to set that to deny all and apply that setting as well. Going down a little bit more to clearing the virtual memory page file. The virtual memory page file contains a lot of sensitive information about the computer, and you have a little bit better explanation here. But basically what we want to do is we want to wipe that page file out every time we shut down, so that sensitive information cannot be captured by anybody. Using Force strong protection for user keys. This is another good method for making sure that every time we use a private key on our computer that it requires a password. So you have to know the password in order to use a key. For there's actually a better explanation under here too as well. It provides you with encryption for protection of your user keys that are on your computer, and it provides a password every time you're going to change something. It's another level of the UAC. Using FIPS compliant algorithm for encryption, hashing, and signing. I've gone and enabled this one already. There's an explanation under this as well for the reason why we do this. It's a method of encrypting the information for our hash file, and it really does increase our security for our computer to use FIPS compliant algorithms. A little bit later on, you'll notice that it's under IP security as well. And there's only one application I've ever seen that didn't comply with the FIPS compliant algorithm, and that was a game called Command & Conquer 3. For whatever reason, it did not comply with FIPS compliant algorithm. Going down a little bit further here, we have admin approval mode for built-in administrative accounts. We're going to enable that. That'll make sure that it prompts us for every time that we require elevation. If you install a program, you'll be prompted. If you try to modify any Windows settings on the computer, you'll be prompted for elevation. And again, this is for the built-in administrative account that we did not disable in our user rights assignments. So we'll just keep going on here. Actually, that's for this account here, the administrative account status. The last one that we'll be looking at here is the admin approval mode. And the admin approval mode, quite simply, provides you an ability to see a prompt every time you're going to do something that requires elevation. So for instance, installing a program will require elevation. Changing local security policies will require an elevation. Changing any sensitive information on the computer requires elevation. And this is simply a security feature to make sure that it's administratively approved process, that it's you changing these settings. And it's not coming from any outside sources. So go ahead and enable that one. And I think that's the last one of the security options in local security policies that we're going to touch on. Alright, so that completes my how-to guide on Windows 7 local security policies. If you like these videos, please feel free to comment in the bar below or subscribe to my channel. You can also visit our website at clearconfig.net. Thanks for watching.